everyone, pull up a chair and get comfy.
Oh, girl, have we got stories to tell you all. The Never Alone podcast is about to begin, and you don't want to miss a minute.
Hello again. Here we are with another segment of Never Alone. Here is our podcast with my trusty sidekick here, Karen Herth Witty. And we're excited to have another segment together. And I love the beginning of the segment where we have the dogs opening up for us.
I know. I haven't figured out how I feel about it totally, but that's okay. I'm like, oh my God, great. It's kind of funny because I think it sounds like me. That's even funnier. So, and I'm a prissy one, which is good.
I know, it's really funny.
It is funny.
Anyway.
How was your week?
Oh, it was really good.
Good. Oh, she says, let's be truthful here. How was your
Well,
week?
we've had a lot of construction going on. And by the way, I'm Iris Fisher-Smith with my Never Alone podcast. I forgot to mention that in case you don't know who I am. And this week has gone pretty well. I mean, we've had a lot of construction to deal with, but it's okay. You just get through it. Construction is never easy. And we've had construction in so many different ways, but we know overall, we've done pretty well. And I've been still selling books though. It seems like wherever I go, people talk to me and then I end up selling them a book. That's one thing that happens.
Oh, you're so funny. I love that.
Yeah. So that's a blessing.
That's good.
But
it'll be good for us to step back and just sort of enjoy each other's company and have a conversation for a little bit, make you not think about construction. That would be great.
It's been going on for about a month, so it got me a little. I'm ready to move on. In other words, but anyway, so I just wanted to mention this. But yes, we do enjoy each other's company. We definitely do. It's great. I wanted to mention this to our viewers. We do not come to you as experts. We come to you as ourselves, as people, as friends, and hopefully we come across as caring and compassionate. This is mainly conversational. I remember on The View, and I don't watch The View a lot, but I remember Whoopi Goldberg saying to the viewers, because people were writing in and they were giving her a hard time, she said, please remember that this is just an opinion show. This is conversational. This is just our opinion. You don't have to, comment on everything we say. And so I think it's important to say that. We're just coming as who we are and not as experts. So it is conversational. So in our last segment, we talked about the title of Who Am I? And we went way back to when we were young. Yeah. Can you remember some of the conversation where we left off and where we could come on into the conversation now? Because who am I is something that a lot of people deal with. In fact, I think most people at one point in their life, at a different stage or whatever, we go through these times where we're like, who am I? Why am I here? What am I doing? What purpose do I have? We all need purpose. And I think direction is important too. But at the different stages, you ask the different questions. We talked in the last segment about, okay, well, when I was 12, who am I is different than who I am at 66, right? So can you pick it up from there and maybe give me some of your thoughts?
Well, we were talking about, no, definitely. We were talking about who we were as kids and when we knew each other. And I think it was interesting that we both probably evaluated that very differently. Like you were keenly in tune to what you wanted to do in the future. I think I was just kind of in survival mode. And I do think that we have multiple stages. So I thought it would be kind of interesting to kind of dissect the stages that you think that you've had, because I do think it evolves. I don't think it stays the same. So for me, I'm going to kind of name them off. I was at first I was a daughter, then I was a friend, then I wanted to be a loved one, then I became a wife, but I wanted to have a career at that point. I didn't know what I wanted to do. Then I became a mom. And I became a mom of 3 kids and one with special needs. And that was quite something. And then that stays for like a chunk of time. And I feel like the 40s were really pivotal. And then now the 60s are pivotal. But I feel like you grow drastically between being a young one and 40. Yeah. So I'm curious if you feel the same way.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the progression of life is interesting. And they all have their challenges and they're all different. But I do find that as we go through those changes, we have a choice. Okay, I chose to grow. A lot of
Yeah.
people choose to grow and move
Yeah.
on and become stronger and do better, you know? So,
Yeah. I think yeah. Do you think you always had a good sense of who you were as a person?
you mean growing up or now?
Just, I think to your core, I think like for me in my core, I know I'm empathetic. I know I see things through, I'm probably more half full than half empty. I know I'm kind and compassionate. So I'm just curious, like the core part of me, I think I always knew kind of who I was. And sometimes that didn't fit with people
Hmm.
around me.
Yeah.
But I feel like you probably
Say
knew.
that again.
I think you probably knew who you were as a kid. But, I think sometimes like if you were I think people try to define who we were when we were kids. Sometimes we knew who we were, but sometimes your peers made you feel like they were trying to define you into something that we weren't totally being.
Yeah.
Until you always say to kids, wait till you go to college, totally different. High school, hopefully they have a great experience, but when you go to college, then you can be who you are.
I think one of the things that I always identified with, Karen, and I think you might be able to say the same thing, is I always felt that part of my calling in life, even as a youngster, was caring about other people. I always had this like little servant's heart thing, and I see it in my granddaughter. This business of thinking about
Yeah.
others all the time. And I just that's one place that I was very solid. As long as I could reach out to other people and get my mind off myself, which helped, because sometimes if you become too inward, that's a good recipe for
Yeah.
depression, you know. What helped
Yeah.
me through a lot of my health challenges was always thinking about other people, maybe calling somebody and saying, "How are you doing?" If I was at school as a youngster, I would have friends. I had one friend in particular that was really struggling, and she started taking a lot of drugs. And eventually she died very young because of it. But I remember spending a lot of time with her, trying to reach out to her, talking to her. I had another friend who lost her mother very young. That was something I was always doing was, reaching out to other people. So that's one area, as
Yeah.
I said, that I felt was solid in my life, and it really helped me to be able to cope with my own challenges, you know.
Yeah.
So just
Oh, I don't know. It's funny. You make it really think here. So I think when I had my kids, especially my oldest, so as you know, my oldest daughter, Ashley, was born with spina bifida, and I didn't really know that I was capable and smart. I mean, I guess I kind of knew it,
hmm
but I jumped right in. Like, think about it, that I just kind of always cope. And, she was amazing and the kids were amazing, but I always just dove right in. But I will say, a lot of people, not just people who have kids with a disability, but anybody as a family, has children, we have a tendency to do our identity through our kids. Then my kids grow up, and then we
hmm
did eventually lose Ashley, and I totally lost who I was. So I found it fascinating that I didn't realize how much of my identity even into all my kids. So then by the time you get into your 40s, I'm like, oh, God, then I was starting to recreate myself, and I had no
hmm
idea. But good, strong friends around me helped me navigate that, which is very interesting as I look back.
hmm
So, you know, my sister has this, her daughter Nicole and son Anthony, and Nicole's been in her life since Nicole was 3, but Anthony was like the one that was the only one in the house. And I think it's really interesting with moms and only
hmm
children. So they have a tendency to be very tied to their kids too, and even more so in some ways. Did you find some of that was through you also?
Yeah, I just, you mean when I was growing up in my own family, well, like when I was young, or
Oh, you and your Paul as a mom, being a mom, and didn't you? I think we find our identity through our kids, and especially mothers of only children.
I still do. And I have to let go a lot and remind myself that he's now a father. He's now a father. He's a husband,
Hmm.
and he has a big
Yeah.
job with Boeing now, and he's very much in demand. So I have to let go a lot and try to be there when I can, and I am. And he's always asking me for prayer, for support. We'll go over, we'll
Yeah.
babysit, we'll spend time. Like tonight, for example, we're going to go over and have dinner with them, and we're looking forward to spending it just the six of us. And we just love to be with the grandchildren. But yeah, he's 43 years
Yeah.
old now. I'm 66, and he is the only one I was able to
Yeah.
have. So of course I was finding my identity with him. You know.
Well, Christine was like that too, but I think it was more like she was my favorites. Like I would always tell her a story. So obviously, before you guys went off to school, I just remember her being traumatized about he's going to leave, he's going to go to school, and all I remember is when my middle Brittany went off to school, and I was really hard because she caused all the chaos in the house, which was all the hyper stuff. She goes off to school, and I'm like, oh, I can do this. This is kind of nice. And came home with her laundry. I'm like, oh my gosh. So you get used to it, and then it changes. And I just think it's that initial part of letting
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which because it comes back around in a whole nother way, like as a grandma and as the mother-in-law and as that, which you don't even know that it's going to be so great because you hadn't been there yet.
Well, what I find difficult is I don't know if it's because I grew up Italian and Jewish, and that those cultures tend to be very, very passionate
Yeah.
people. But I find myself, like when my
Yeah.
son was young, I was
Yeah.
worrying about him. Okay. Then I worry about my husband. And then I worry about, now I'm doing it with the grandchildren. Now I'm worrying about them. But what do you do? Well, you pray and you have to let go and trust, because my son and daughter-in-law are very capable
Yeah.
people. They're very good parents. And I have
Yeah.
to know that I don't have to swoop in and save the day all the time. They're capable. I'm kind of on the side.
It just.
I'm the one that you end up
Hmm.
hugging them and the little ones and going, "Oh, grandma's here," but we're not there every day. So we're like this.
Yeah. But I think that's not.
Say that again.
Go ahead. My turn. I was going to say, I think it's normal because I know we're worried. And now that they're getting older, it's no different than when our kids were little. So now that they're, mine are 13, 10, and 7, but I still worry about the 7-year-old. But I worry about good decisions and I worry that they weren't safe. But the first time they're out in the middle of the road riding their bike, they're giving me a heart
Yeah.
attack, or the other day, my their parents are letting the 13-year-old has a lot of freedom. At first, it really stressed me out. And I'm like, I got to let this
Yeah, and
go,
it's hard. It's hard
So
because women.
yeah, trusting me right
I think as women, we have a tendency to be like that. We're the caregivers, and so
now.
we tend to worry. Especially when we don't have control over a situation. Like when my
Yeah,
son broke his femur when he
yeah,
was young, I I didn't sleep for 2 months because he was in the hospital in
yeah.
traction, and I was like this, and I wasn't even with him when it happened. It was happened with a babysitter, and she felt terrible. She loved him.
Yeah,
It just was an accident, you
yeah,
know. And so I found myself
mhm,
just, if I could just let go of this worry thing. I mean, here we are on the internet trying to do this podcast, and I'm seeing all these flashes that say your internet connection is unstable, you know, and then
What are you gonna do?
we've disabled incoming connections, and I'm like, what? I'm trying not to worry about it, but it's all over the place, you know. And how do you
I
predict
know,
it?
but the worst case is we do this and re-record. So it's like I know you just got to kind of roll with
Yeah.
things. It's not fun, but it's
It's challenging. It's
possible.
challenging to let go of things you can't control. It's very challenging.
Hmm.
And so what do we do?
Yeah,
But here we go back to my book that talks about never being alone. And if is it Ecclesiastes, where it says two are better than one, for when one falls, the other one picks the other one up, and truly pity the man who's alone. And I'm going to repeat that probably in every segment, because this morning before we came on,
yeah.
we were talking together and we were helping each other, encouraging each other, pouring out our heart. And you know what happens when you do that? You feel better, because now you feel like you've got the
You
support,
lighten up.
you know?
Hmm. Unburden a bit. I think my job in life is to stand beside my friends on occasion, and for me too. But a lot of times I'm like, step away from the ledge, back
Hmm.
up, just come on, back it up. And I have a funny saying I say to people every once in a while. I mean, like, what's like in your brain? It's like, what you thinking? Come on, let it go. So I think speaking it gives it, takes away some of the power, which is really cool when you do it. You
Well,
can speak it out and
we
talk it
need
through.
community desperately. The point is, we need each other.
Mm.
We need other people, not just on the internet. We need to be able to hold each other's hands, hug. There's so many things that we need that personal touch. You know.
Well, I think people make their own communities. So, my community has my core community stayed the same, and then your extended community changes as we get older, like you said,
Oh
different
yeah,
stages in
yeah.
life. So, And sometimes you don't have it. I don't really have a big external community right now. I only have my
Yeah.
core. So we haven't found a church up here yet that I've decided that I would give a chance. It's not about the churches up here not being right for me or something, but just putting myself out there sounds exhausting to
Well,
me.
that's because,
So as I'm on a pod, exhausting, right? Okay.
well, in the life that we're living right now, it's exhausting just going from day to day. I mean, look at all that's going on in the world. And this is why we need each other so badly. I get concerned about the next generation behind us. And I've said this in other segments where they're on their phone, they're not looking at each other, they're not
Yeah.
conversing, they're not, and now they're going into this chat GPT where they're asking that for advice. And I heard something the other day on the
Yeah.
news that was very disturbing to me. There were some younger kids looking for so much advice that the chat GPT was talking them into, and I don't know if this is true, but I happen to hear it. They were talking them into
Yeah.
committing suicide. And I was like, oh my goodness,
I suspect not
I
true.
hope it's not
We
true.
would probably need to research that.
Yeah, you know how many
Fascinated if
things you
that was
hear that are not true today? Like 85%.
oh, grain of salt. With
85%,
a
you
grain of
know.
salt for sure. Yeah.
It's all fear-based.
I know. I
But
ebb and flow whether I'm going to listen and
but my
listen to.
point is we shouldn't be turning to a
So anyway,
computer for advice. We should be turning to people and each other, you know.
right.
Please excuse this brief interruption for a shameless commercial. Remember, you can get your own copy of Iris's book, Never Alone, at irisfsmith.com.
But let's do this. Let's talk about who we think we are today.
Oh my God.
I don't even know if I can put that in a box.
Who am I today?
So
Spaghetti.
who are you today? Spaghetti. What noodle? No, seriously. I mean, we talk about that, like, who are we? But I do think it's always changing. And today, yeah, I don't always feel needed. I have to
Me
admit,
too.
I'm still a wife. I'm still a mom.
Yeah.
But I know I'm fulfilled through work and I'm fulfilled through being productive. So I need order to keep me feeling artistic and
Hmm.
growing.
Yep.
So I do interior design and hospitality design. So I need to keep working. I don't see me not doing that and not being around things so I know those are things that feed me, but I still don't really know I can't tell you who I am. Like, who are you? Who are you? It's like,
Well,
who are you? You're an
one of the
author,
things that I had to come to terms with,
wife.
Karen, was okay, who am I? Well, for the longest time, I was identified through my mother until she passed away. When she passed away, I really had a hard time because I
Okay.
identified with her so much because she was always there, you know?
Yeah.
And then I
Yeah.
identified with my tribe, my family, my grandparents, aunts and uncles. And when
Yeah.
they start to pass away, and this is what I've been dealing with because when I was getting older, when they pass away, that's when the rubber meets the road because now you have to get to and
Yeah.
figure out who you are without those other people in your life. So
Right.
what's happened to me is I've had
Yeah.
to really think about that and decide, okay, well, these people aren't around anymore now. I'm a grandmother and I can't see them all the time because they're busy, which is normal. So who am I and what do I like to do? What is it how do I like to spend my day? I like to work. I like to be productive. I don't like to just sit around. So I find that, I'm doing a podcast. I wrote books. I'm involved with writers groups. That's where I find myself because that's what I like to do. I like to write. I like to be creative. I'm artistic that way. We wrote a screenplay and I got together with, my friend Vincent and we spent a year writing a screenplay that was an adaptation, from part of my book. And I'm awaiting, I'm
Yeah.
awaiting, to have producers, look at it again and people have looked at it and they like it, but it has to fit in with what they're producing at the time. For example, I sent my into Candace Cameron Bure and her company, which is Red Rock Entertainment, I think it was. And I think that they liked it, but she's doing a lot of mysteries, so it didn't fit because mine is all about the Bolshevik
Yeah.
Revolution and history. So that doesn't fit. Then I talked to another producer, and she loved the idea, but she was overloaded with vintage stories, and this was a vintage story. So I spend my time
Yeah.
now working with the screenplay, promoting the book, marketing.
Yeah.
My husband and I work together on this. He does the technical end of it, and I do the production and the writing end of it. And it works out. So I end up doing this full time, and I enjoy it. So
So who are
my
you?
point is I had to find my purpose, and who was I without my mother
Right,
and all these other people? What did I want to do?
right,
What has God called me to do?
right.
And I figured it out, and it's very, very good. I enjoy it. And I've
Yeah.
had a lot of nice
So it's
reception,
interesting to
you
this.
know.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Did you always, because you've said to me a couple times about purpose. I think what happens if, is it okay to not feel like like, do we have to have a purpose every day is my question. I know
no.
you feel you have a purpose and what you're supposed to do. So what happens to me is sort of the same thing. You can say to me, give me your 1 year, 2 year, and 3 year plan. It stresses me right out. So I'm like, I shut down. I don't want to. So I kind of feel like when somebody says, what's your purpose? That gives me anxiety.
Well,
And it's funny,
that to
but
me,
I think it's good and right
that to me is too much purpose. That's well,
from.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, that's why I say I always admire the fact that you're writing and pursuing it the way you're doing, because I don't, I've evolved and reinvented a little bit, I think, over the years. I mean, I'm still me, but like my career and stuff, and I still don't know that that's my purpose. So what I do, you know, you're writing a book and you wrote about family, and I think that's so cool and stuff, and you're putting it out there to teach people to look at other things. I I work with furniture, somewhere for people to put their butt. That's how I've always felt about it. Like, so somebody had I do is important because you design homes for people to be with their loved ones and to have that family time. So I have to really, really relook at that. But it's really put into perspective. Like, yeah, I it's okay. Like I worry that I love that you're more driven, and I wish I was more focused. And then I think it's just I don't know.
Well, again, it goes back to, you know what it is? When I wrote my book, Karen, listen to this, okay? When I wrote my book, it goes back to the same thing that I felt as a youngster. I wanted to reach out to people. I
Yeah,
wanted to help them. One of my biggest role models growing up, believe it or not, was Mother Teresa. I wanted,
yeah, you
I
said.
was, my family was half Russian, Jewish, and half Italian Catholic, okay? My dad
Mhm.
went to church and my mother went to temple. And so I resonated more with the Italian Catholic side. And that's why I was drawn to her. I love the fact that that woman loved people, and she was just giving to people and really cared for the poor, and she just was so sincere. You know why that was, though? Because my mother was that way. My mother loved people,
Yeah,
and she would have done anything she could for people. I mean, her message to me growing up was, you be very loyal to your friends, because she had a lot of friends, and it's because of her loyalty. And she picked
yeah,
ones that were loyal back, and she just happened to grow up in that era where people were more loyal and more connecting. And she
yeah,
taught me, she said, her message to me was, you be very good to people, you be very loyal, but then she would take her finger and go, but don't take their crap. If they start giving you crap, move on.
yeah,
So she taught me to set a boundary at the same
yeah,
time. You know,
yeah.
don't
Well,
let people. In
yeah,
other
that's
words, don't
neat.
let people walk
Yeah,
on you. You know,
right,
she didn't want that to
exactly.
happen to me,
Yeah,
especially where I had health issues. She was very concerned that people
yeah,
might take advantage of me. And her message was, you be so kind, be good to your friends, always have a lot of friends, but don't let people walk all over you. And I was like, how does that happen? Well, I had to figure it out. I had to get walked on a few times, right? That's how you learn.
yeah.
What's that?
Did you learn to speak though? It took me a long time to learn to speak. I love this thing. We had this thing in our church at one time when we were going through some troubles in the church, and it's called Truth and Love, and learning to speak in truth
Mm-hmm.
and love. So just because it isn't something somebody's going to want to hear, there's a way to say it with a loving approach. But I think what I found is, like, I used to think that if I said nothing, I was being kind, but you really aren't being kind by saying nothing. You're just self-preserving. So I've had to learn to really speak over the years, but I will
Yeah,
speak now, as painful it is. But I won't, because I don't want to sit and ruminate over it. I want to fester.
yeah,
So now I have to speak it out loud really quick if I have any question about anything. But I'm not somebody who gets hurt easily anyways. If I know you love me, I know you love me. I don't expect that you would ever intentionally hurt
mm-hmm.
me, but not everybody in your life makes you feel that
No,
way,
no, no,
though.
no.
So
Yeah. I mean, it's all
yeah,
balance because everybody's so different. The people that have come into my life, some have
yeah,
given to me more, and then other times I've given more to
yeah,
them, and sometimes it was nice and balanced.
yeah,
Our relationship, Karen, over the years has been balanced. We just have had, helped each other
it
where we
has.
could, right? It was never, and that those
Right.
are the best
Yep.
relationships when they are even like that, you know?
I think
Yeah.
so. Yeah.
And
Yeah. They ebb and
but
flow.
everybody is so different. And in my
Yeah.
course of living, it's 66 years here, I've met a lot of different people. And some are going to be acquaintances, some are going to be very close to you, some will come into your life, some will go out of your life, people die. There's all of this. And in the course of that, guess what? I learned I had to learn who I am because I found that not everybody was going to be there all the
Yeah.
time. And that was hard for me because
Yeah.
when I bond with people, I really bond. My mother was like that. I
Yeah.
really love to put my
Okay.
all into a relationship
Yeah.
that's healthy, you know. But
Yeah. Put people on your
you know what I'm trying to say?
I do, but did you hear
I
me?
couldn't hear you. No, I'm sorry.
I put people on a 1 year trial. Then I decide. And it's not that I don't like them, but I'm just hesitant enough. I'm going to step back until I decide, are you really what you
Yeah.
appear to be? And is this healthy for me?
But not every relationship
I don't do it all the
not
time.
every here's the thing, Karen, not every personality is going to connect either. You've got all these different people, and that's what I was trying to
Right.
say. In the course of all the
Yeah.
people I've met, I didn't connect with everybody. Sometimes it was very short-lived, sometimes it was
Right.
long term. I was really blessed that way to have such long-term friends. Some people that I connected with were fun, and we did fun things, and that's all we did. Other people was serious, talk
Yeah.
deep deep stuff.
Yeah.
It's all so different, and
No, I need a
yeah.
balance.
Yeah, but you're
Yeah.
certainly
Need a
not going to
balance.
connect with every single person. It's impossible. First of all, you have to cultivate the relationships,
Right. Oh,
and that takes time.
mhm.
So there's this business of,
Interesting.
like I said in the beginning, who am I? Well, as we get older, we have to figure it out because, like I said, people come and go, and as we get older, the going is a little more painful because now people are starting to die, and that's permanent. You're not going to see them again
Yeah.
unless you believe in heaven, which I do and you do, and someday we'll see them again, but not they're not there right now,
Just
you
hope.
know.
Well, I think it's interesting. So I know who I am today. So we'll check it out next week and see how I feel next week. But I know who I am today. Just,
I know who I
I
am
know,
today.
right?
I woke up this morning saying I don't like who I am today. I don't like this. I woke up and I was, you know,
Right, I know. I'm thinking today
you know,
you are, and yeah, right. Not a great, yeah. Today I am cranky. No, today I'm not cranky, but
you know why
yeah,
I
some
woke
days
up
you
that
wake
way
up
though.
and
I
you're,
just wanted to elaborate a little bit because as an older person, you're stiff and there's pain,
uh-huh.
and you just
No,
you don't want to get
yep.
out of bed.
Love laying in bed. I so agree. I can lay there and then I get up and go, why did I lay there so long? My hips are killing me. I know.
And then there's this business of half the day is spent stretching and taking and eating right and taking care of yourself.
Uh-huh.
That's you want to talk about being busy. You're busy in your older years because you're just trying to survive, keep the body going,
I got a funny story though.
huh?
I have a funny, quick little story. My daughter works in the ER and she is in her late 30s. And the girls in the ER the other day decided on the hour they were going to do 10 squats every hour. They quit by 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And then nobody could walk the rest of the day. I'm like, that's funny. Yeah. I don't feel so bad.
Oh, you should see me trying to stretch every day. I'm like, remember Gumby and Pokey, that cartoon? Or what was it?
Yes, I love them.
Claymation. That's what it was. It was claymation. And so
Yeah.
Gumby was all flexible and stuff like that. So some days I feel all flexible
Yep.
like Gumby, and other days I'm like, what happened to my muscles? They're stiff.
I always say it's almost like Gumpy. I know I'm very flexible, but they feel like it's an elastic band that dried up and shriveled. You bend over and you get and it
Oh
moves.
gosh.
Like,
I've tried everything. I've even tried taking amino acids, which is supposed to be really good for muscle, and I'm like, it's not working.
nothing's moving, nothing's moving. I hate it. It's like a dried rubber band. It's great. Like,
Yeah, my granddaughter
Oh,
likes me to try to
wow.
get on the
That's
floor with her, Karen, and I'm like, I can't because I don't have any knees
that
to
can't
get back up.
gotta be near a coffee table or something to pull yourself up. It's bad. Yeah.
Anyway,
Oh my
so
gosh.
I think what
Funny.
we're going to do is we're going to wrap it up for today. And I want to thank our
Okay.
viewers for spending time with us. And I pray that they find it as enjoyable as we do. Karen and I, like we said before, we love connecting and talking and sharing and, supporting one another. And we pray and hope that you guys, as viewers, will do the same. Pick a friend to talk to today. Pick a brother or a sister or a mother or a father or a grandchild. It doesn't matter. Or somebody you might run into at the store, in a restaurant. You never know because there's people all around us. And believe me, there are people that want to connect. They just don't know it until they see you. And you can make a difference.
Reach out.
Yeah. So thank you for joining us.
Sounds
And
good.
we will see you in the next segment. And have a good week. And we'll see you in the next one. Thanks for joining
Have a
us.
good week.
Bye
All right.
bye.
Talk
Yep.
to you later.
You
Love
too.
you. Bye.
Okay.
Wow, that was awesome, wasn't it? I know those stories were really something. Hey, thanks everyone for joining us. We'll see you next time when we share more stories from Iris's book, Never Alone.
Order your copy of Never Alone at irisfsmith.com today.